Welcome everyone to our exclusive preview of the $15 million Everest and what a race it's going to be. And welcome also to the William Inglis Sales Complex, where hundreds of millions of dollars worth of yearlings go through here with people looking for the next superstar. But in the nicest possible way, our special guest isn't noted for the yearling training. He's more noted like the Wayne Bennett of the equine world, I'd say, where he can turn that broken down footballer stroke horse, or a horse that's been through many, many stables and many, many runs, and rejuvenate that horse, much like Wayne Bennett can make an aging footballer feel like he's 21 again. Our special guest is Joe Pride, who just happens to have the favourite in the $15 million Tab Everest, and that is Eduardo. Joe, thanks for your time, mate.
Yeah, my pleasure, Terry.
Did you like that, mate? Wayne Bennett?
Yeah, well, I do because I'm a Souths fan, but well, he's left us now. But no, Wayne's a marvel, isn't he? He's an amazing character, and just for him to be able to keep touch with those younger generations time after time, it's freakish.
Yeah, it is a nice sort of comparison, and certainly it's a reputation that
It's flattering for me, is what it is.
But it's a reputation you've earned through a lot of really hard work, and that is that rejuvenation of horses that have been through other stables and for want of a better term, maybe a cast-off.
Yeah, sure. Something learnt from the old boss John Size, and he did it with so many horses in the time that I worked for him, and it's something we sort of adopted and have carried on, and still probably the part of the job I enjoy the most, to be honest.
We'll delve a little bit more into it, but Eduardo is sort of one of those horses which is remarkable now as favourite for the Tab Everest, and lining up, and he was sort of not cast off, but your clients found him. He'd already had a career, and now this is his second Everest. Can you tell us a little bit about the story of Eduardo?
Yeah, sure. So a stable client there, Lyndon Galvin, gave me a call, and he's done this on a few occasions, and sort of indicated that the horse potentially could be bought. And it was good because the two original owners stayed in him, downsized, and were able to get more people in on enjoying this horse. So it was fantastic. And that's only 14, 15 months ago now. So it's been a pretty whirlwind sort of ride for the guys that are in him, and yeah, so really it's been great that the original owners and breeders have been able to stay in him and enjoy it.
Should have had a balaclava on because your fair dinkum stole him. It was about 110,000.
He was reasonably cheap in the end. So, but I mean, the way he was going at the time, that was probably about his market value, and yeah, just been fortunate enough to be able to get him going at the level he is now, and it's just been so much fun.
He's now won close enough to $3 million, so that makes him a pretty good return on investment.
Definitely.
And now going as favourite to the Everest, where first prize, it's hard to get your head around it, mate.
Yes.
$6 million first prize and you're the favourite in the race.
Sure, it's a ridiculous amount of money, isn't it? But that gets split up between obviously the slot holder and my owners as well. So, but that's Sydney racing, or indeed Australian racing now, the kind of prize money that we're able to race for, and that's what makes horses sort of expensive at these yearling sales. It puts the value into them. So, industry's never been healthier, and yeah, it's nice when you're on the receiving end of some of that prize money.
Yeah, you mentioned for people who don't know, you mentioned that half of that goes. It's still $3 million.
Yeah,
takes you a long way on a council bus, I can tell you. So $3 million goes to the connections, and $3 million goes to the people who paid to have the slot in the race.
yeah. It's a great concept, isn't it? And it's something that is obviously new and adopted from America, but it's taken off a lot better here than it did over there. I think it's actually finished over there now, and you can only see it growing from year to year here in Australia.
Tell us a little bit about the characteristics of Eduardo, if you can. Is he a hard horse to handle? Is he a quirky horse? Does he like certain things and hate other things?
Yeah, you hit the nail with quirky, actually, right on the head. So he's a horse who's very specific about who handles him. And there's a few people in the stable that do most of that, mostly Maxine Pocock, she's his strapper, and then Michelle Reid, who rides him. And he's not the sort of horse you want to change around too much with those things. He's a bit like a spoilt dog in the house. He has his way of doing things, and if you sort of take him away from that, you're really taking away from his performance. But that's probably not giving his toughness and durability enough credit. He's an amazing athlete. And you see that fight that's in him on race day. It's like no other I've ever had in any horses I've trained.
It's funny because he's got all that fight, he's got all that tenacity, and then some people go, "Oh, he can't run a strong 1,200 metres."
Yeah.
I mean, where does that come from?
Yeah, it's unusual for such speed to be combined with that kind of tenacity. A lot of the time, you know, I use the term cheap speed, and horses can be particularly quick, but at the end of the races, they're often quite weak. Where he can go really quickly in races, bust horses up, and then be so strong in the finish. And we can only put that down to, we can put it down to a few things, I guess, but the main thing there is just, he obviously just has great cardio. You know, that heart and lungs just working overtime. And I think the trick with him is he's not an overly big horse. So he weighs in under 500 kilos, and he's kind of like one of those, the old, for our generation, Terry, the old XU1 Tirana with the big V8 and the little chassis, you know, and that's, they take some stopping. I think that V8 engine in a small body is an amazing thing.
So it's funny because he's not an oil painting, is he? But he's
He is to me. I don't know. The beauty sort of grows on you with these horses. Yeah, I mean, there's no such thing as an ugly thoroughbred. They're amazing looking animals.
Beautiful, aren't they?
And this horse has got quite a striking presence because of his big baldy face. And he's a beautiful, deep, rich chestnut as well. So he's pretty special to look at. He's built like a sports car. You know, he's got that sleek. He carries basically no fat on him whatsoever. And for that reason, it makes him, you know, quite relatively easy to train.
And looks are one thing, mate, but if you lift that bonnet up,
that's where it is.
It's what's under the bonnet, isn't it?
And just the mental tenacity as well. And they've got to have that. Yeah. That's the final box that needs to be ticked. And we've all been associated with horses that have got a lot of ability on the track, and we take them to the races, and that's where they let us down. And often it is a mental thing for them. But this horse is really strong in that area. He's tenacious.
I once got told, and it was a comparison with the horses, you know, there's plenty of champion sparring partners, but there aren't too many heavyweight champions.
Yeah, no, that's it. And that's what makes the sport special, and horses like him don't come along very often, and to have him and Private Eye in the stable at the same time, because they're both really reliable, tenacious. They between them, they just never seem to run a bad race, and if they do, there's a reason for it.
And you're talking about the big dress rehearsal, I guess, race, the big lead up for the Everest was the shorts over 1,100 metres. Now, that was on a soft track. And he showed all those qualities you've just described, mate.
Yeah.
Because he actually got headed by Nature Strip, whose son believes the best sprinter in the world, although you think Eduardo's the best sprinter in the world. But it was one of those great heavyweight battles, really.
It was a great race. And look, to be fair, on that day, you wanted to be up on speed, and you know, and he was helped out by that. But the wind was really dominant in the end. That last 50, when you watch it, he was going away again. And I know G-Tra ran really well also, but he had that nice sort of run, afforded a nice run behind what was a pretty hot pace. So it was a great dress rehearsal, but not unexpected. And if you look at this horse's form in the last 6 months, I believe it's the best form in the race. You know, he's comparing him to Classique Legend. I mean, yes, Classique Legend won the Everest 12 months ago, but what's happened to that horse between then and now is a checkered path. And Les is a fantastic trainer. I don't doubt him for a second to get that horse ready, but I love, and particularly with the conditions we're going to have on Saturday, recent racing. And even as in a run a month ago, just runs within that last 12 months, they help. They help. And you know, you think of the term ring rusty, and that's where horses that haven't had recent racing, that's where they find themselves. They just the last bit of the race could be very testing for them. So
since that victory in the shorts, there's been a barrier trial. A little birdie told me, you can confirm or deny, that Nash has sort of jumped off and said, I know I shouldn't probably say this, and there's no such thing as a good thing in a $15 million race, but he's fantastic.
He's got a real confidence about him with this horse, and it's great. He's ridden him eight times now for 6 wins, and I think when he's sitting on this horse, he feels invincible, and you know, what a great mindset for a jockey to have in a big race. He's just got that belief in the horse, and I don't know how many times I've legged up a jockey, and when you don't feel their confidence, the horse often just doesn't run as well as what, you know, potentially it could, and that's just a combination of the horse and jockey feeling a confidence and a belief in one another.
Fair to say Nash is confident?
Definitely, yeah, he is, and Nash is an amazing rider. We all know that. Extremely strong. We lost him last year, and he couldn't ride in the Everest, and that was it was very telling for him in the end, and also in the TJ. And basically, if you sort of take his runs here in Sydney, and when Nash isn't in the equation, we lose something. There's no doubt about that. It's not to say that somewhere in the future someone else won't be able to ride him as well, but that combination is absolutely lethal.
And Joe, I guess you speak about Nash not being there last year in the Everest, and it was all about micro-ownership for Eduardo last year in the Everest with the My Everest campaign. There was actually 2,500 people involved in Eduardo last year as slot holders, and in the end Nash jumped off, and people go, oh, well, Eduardo raced and was gone with 400 to go last time in the Everest. What do you make of all that? And do you just try and forget about last year's Everest?
Definitely forgetting about it. The amazing thing out of that race last year was he ran the fastest sectionals and they're broken down into 200-metre splits. He ran the fastest sectionals for the first 5 furlongs. So right up into the 200, he was still running the fastest sectionals. So he had to break, he had to bust, and brought Nature Strip down with him. But as I say, that's something now it is in the past, and this horse this year is a different horse to work with. The seasoning that he's now got under his belt, what I've learnt from him in the autumn and in the winter about how to place him, how to train him, they're invaluable in getting him ready this time round. And as I said, I think I'm working with a different horse, and he's going to need to be. You know, he's going to need to race right up to his very best to win this Everest. But I believe that's where he's at. The team have worked tirelessly to get him there, and I'm just really happy with where he's at.
Yeah, because I guess people would say, oh, he's a fierce goer. You know, his sectionals are so quick early. He's a tough ride, but. You know, that's why there's that degree of confidence if you've got Nash on board as well, who knows that horse so well.
Yeah, look, and he genuinely is not a fierce-going horse. Yeah. He goes as fast as what someone lets him, you know, and you've just got to rate him. And Nash just seems to have this ability to, and I've spoken to Nash about it, and I'm not sure it's something that he can sort of so much put into words, but he basically explained to me that he just lets Eduardo run his own race. He doesn't get involved with what's going on around him, and it's funny when they're quite unconventional the way he has ridden him the 2 times, particularly he's beaten Nature Strip, where he's let Nature Strip take off and get a bit of a lead up on him. And that's normally not something you do on a speed horse, but that's Nash just conserving the horse's energy, just having something left for that last furlong, and that's what he's going to need to do again on Saturday, no doubt about that. Yeah.
$15 million, what about nerves as a trainer? Because not only as a trainer, but you're also an owner.
Yeah.
Right, in Eduardo. So do you get 2 bouts
I'm
of
not
nerves?
an owner, unfortunately. My name's there. I'm the managing owner, and I went there because I brought together.
There's got to be something.
Yes, of course there is. I brought together a group of people that didn't know each other, so it's easier for me to go in as the manager. It's a bit disturbing seeing your name up there at the top and not getting an owner's check, but that's fine. The horse has been fantastic to me. No one needs to look after me. He's been fantastic to me. So yeah.
So nerves?
No, not at all. I can't say not at all. Yeah. Minimal, and
really?
It's a funny thing with I've been doing this for 20 years now, and what I've found is when you've got a confidence and a belief in the horse and everything's gone well, the nerves aren't there. The nerves are there when little things have gone wrong and you're not sure, when you've got doubts. And I can't say I don't have any doubts, but they're minimised in this circumstance. He's a horse who just tries his heart out, and he's going to get conditions to suit Saturday. It all lines up for him, and I'm looking at it as just a great opportunity for everyone involved in the horse.
Now, truth serum here. You go down the stable every morning. First horse you check on?
No, look, he's right up the back, so he's not the first one I check on. But I've got to say, between him and Private Eye, it would be silly for me to say that they're not the 2 that I'm most interested in.
How is he this morning?
Super, yeah, and that's the thing. He's had this faultless preparation. So, and I don't take that for granted. You know, we all know that they're flesh and blood, and you could walk in tomorrow and you could have a foot abscess or anything could go wrong. So, but it's just been fantastic to have him sort of make his way through the preparation and get to the races, or we haven't got to the races yet, but to be able to get to the races with nothing going wrong, that's where the nerves are cancelled out.
He's 8 years of age. I mean, you know, that's in equine world, you know, for a Group 1 contender. That's old.
Yeah, well, we'll go back to the XU1 comparison, and we'll say this is an XU1 that's been parked in the garage for a long time. And when you look at him, he's had 22 starts.
Yeah,
he's not an XU1 that was owned by some kid in Blacktown and
Yeah.
flogged it around every week. So
Yeah.
he's been preserved. And in terms of soundness, I'd go on record as saying you could compare him to any runner in that race, and I would say he would have the equal, if not better, in terms of X-rays and any kind of vetting procedures that you took. He's extremely sound.
Is he the world's best sprinter, as you've claimed before?
We'll find out on Saturday. We'll find out on Saturday. So look, it's a bit of fun, the WBS thing, and it started a fair while ago, and it's taken a lot more seriously by a lot of people, other than myself, to be honest. But he's clearly, one of them, and hopefully Saturday we're all labelling exactly that.
Joe, you've won plenty of big races, right? But I'm just wondering, for your career and self-satisfaction and even family and sacrifices and all that sort of stuff that goes into the 24/7 business of horse training,
Yep.
What would it mean to actually win an Everest?
Yeah, look, it's a culmination, and it would sort of put icing on the cake. We're well established now in Sydney training ranks, and we're not like we sort of have to win a race every week to survive. So, but it's a lot of hard work goes into it, and that won't be forgotten if we're able to win it on Saturday.
And mate, on Saturday, I think it's race 1, Zushak.
Yes.
Lines up as favourite. Is that something we can maybe have a little dabble on?
Nash is on there, and Nash's got a bit of confidence in the horse. He rode him for the first time here at Warwick Farm the other day, and he got off him. He said, just get this horse to 1400. So we've done that, and he should handle the wet track. I'm not sure about heavy for him. Soft would probably be the ideal surface, so we'll keep an eye on the weather there. But he is in terrific order, and he's a horse. I loved his first up run. He ran behind Count de Rupi at Kembla. Count de Rupi was very unlucky not to win the Silver Eagle the other day. So I think that form line will stand up. Forget his run over here the other day. He didn't have any luck. He got caught deep. It was an unfortunate set of circumstances, but I think third up he can atone.
And one box maybe we didn't tick was Eduardo. Some of his best form's been on soft ground.
Yep.
So I mean the
Yep.
track and the weather.
He's 5 from 6 on the soft and a placing, and then on the heavy I think he's 3 from 4 or 2 from 3. And the only time he missed a place on the heavy was in the it's called something different every year. What was it last year? The Yes, the consolation, not the consolation race, but the race 2 weeks after the Everest.
Yep.
And if I had my time over again, he ran 4th, but I wouldn't have run him. He was tired after the Everest.
Rest.
Yes, yeah.
He was entitled to be tired after last year's Everest.
And that was the amazing thing.
He broke the sound barrier.
A lot of people had sort of indicated after the Everest they thought that was the end of him. 2 weeks later, I lined him up at that race and he ran 4th. That speaks volumes for this horse's courage, tenacity, and just toughness.
Mate, the Racing League as well, which is great for micro ownership and your share of 6 horses. You've got one called Penso Alay, which is sort of new to the stable, but how's Penso Alay coming along?
Really good, really good. She arrived looking pretty wintry from Melbourne, and that's it's the Victorian winters. They're pretty harsh down there. So, but she's just improved out of sight in the time that she's been. I'm really pleased with her. So when you look at her form, she's only had I think 7 starts, won a couple of staying races. I'm not going to predict where she's going to get in terms of class or distance, but I've got to say I'm really pleased with her progression, the way she now looks in her coat, and just her attitude. It's changed a lot in the time that she's been here. So we want mares to show character and show a little bit of fight and spunk and everything else. She was a bit over the top with that stuff, a bit stressy. We've taken that out of her to a degree anyway, and I think as we progress through the preparation, she'll just get better and better. But I'm really pleased with her. I think we're going to have a lot of fun.
I guess that's another quirk of training as well. Mares, which are the female side of the breed, you've got to be a little bit more gentle. You've got to treat them with kid gloves, or some of them like to be treated tough. Yep. How do you find a mare like a Penso Alay?
All very much individuals in that regard, but I would say that generalisation does apply to mares because as they get older, they generally just don't like to be galloped as much, I find. And you've just got to be, they're less likely to be the sort of horses that you can back up, and you just got to be a bit more gentle with them. But if you can get them into form, they'll just be flat out trying for you every time. So she's lightly raced enough that we should have the belief, and good reason to have the belief, that she's just going to get better and better. She's a So You Think. You know, they're not you're not seeing the best of them until they're maybe 5 or 6. So I've got her at exactly the right time, and as I said, really pleased with the way she's coming through.
So TRL members, they really want you to work that magic with these trial horses for Penso Alay.
That's right. No, I think, as I said, we'll have a lot of fun with it. She's a really nice mare. Wouldn't be expecting a lot in an 800-metre barrier trial tomorrow. That's not going to be a go, but we'll give her an easy time, have her come off the track with a bit of confidence, knowing that it hasn't hurt her. Back again in a couple of weeks' time, another trial, and then we'll be off to the races in November.
Joe, are you willing to sort of let us in on the secret about how you do rejuvenate horses that you get from other stables after some would cast them aside? Sure.
Look, it would take a long time for us to sit down and go through it all, Terry. But in short, I guess it's about making the horse, that change of environment can often help them. They come from somewhere different where maybe their experiences haven't been the best. And I like to think of we make them happy, we make them enjoy their training again, and much the same, maybe going back to that Wayne Bennett comparison, the amount of ability that a football or a racehorse has a cap on it, and we can probably make them go a lot worse, but it's hard to make them go much better than their absolute best they can do. But if we can just get them back to that, as I say, maybe take with racehorses especially, take a bit of pain away. They might have some joint issues or back issues or something like that. If you can take that away, make them enjoy it, they'll do their best for you. Well, whatever it is, mate, you've got that magic touch, and we know we thank you for your time. We know how busy you are in the lead up to the Everest, and can we just say good luck and all the very best with Eduardo. Thanks very much. Thanks, mate. Beautiful. Thanks, Joe.